do you know about 19th century racism? It was much more pronounced, obvious, especially towards black Americans. There was also segregation. Whites viewed blacks, especially in the U.S., as inferior. And 19th century racism was basically discrimination towards black Americans. And that in the 19th century, the racism was mostly slave work, and compared to today, it's more obvious.
So you asked the question.
Oh, question number 2. What insights did you gain from reading Lies My Teacher Told Me?
Okay, so I noticed that almost all the U.S. textbooks that are taught to students leave out the causes of slavery. They just acknowledge slavery, but only briefly. They also do not connect racism with slavery, and they also do not acknowledge how slavery affected the whites. And they do not reveal anything bad about presidents or so-called heroes. And yeah, I'm done. Who's number 3?
Oh, me.
Okay.
So, question number 3 was, what surprises you the most about the text, Lies My Teacher Told Me? There isn't one thing that surprised me the most. Like, a lot of things surprised me. Like how some people think that the coverage of slavery comes across as an unfortunate and minor blemish, but it isn't compared to the overall storyline in our textbooks. The racism and slavery thing, it's a pretty big deal, and it's just overlooked. Hold on. And textbooks, they tend to mention slavery, but they say it in a sort of optimistic tone, and it shouldn't be said in an optimistic tone. And
it's bad.
And in Lies My Teacher Told Me, there was something that surprised me the most. It was that the very essence of what we have inherited from slavery is the idea that it is appropriate, even natural, for whites to be on top and blacks on the bottom.
Okay.
And there's more, but I would take too long. So, anyone doing question number 4? You are? Oh. Alright. Oh, okay. Question number 4. Although the text focuses on U.S. textbooks, how is this information relevant to Canadian students of social studies?
I think even though it happened in the U.S., it could happen anywhere in the world, and I don't think that anyone would enjoy being a slave for their whole life. It's we should try to stop it. We should try to stop.
It's okay. It's okay. Keep going. We're too far.
We should try to stop it, then make it happen over again, because slavery is a bad thing for someone to witness. Yeah.
Number 5.
How does knowing of the past make us a better? How does knowing of the past help us make a better choice for the future? Well, knowing of the past will help us fix mistakes that we made in the future. Which one of the big mistakes that we had in the past was making black people work in the cotton fields or just in slavery in general, which was one of the biggest mistakes that we could ever have done back then, because we have slavery now still, but it's not as harsh as it was. People would be dying in the conflicts. People would be dying doing just work in the house if their slaver had a house. But mistakes that we made back then can be easily fixed now with robots.
Okay.
Robots working in factories. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
We learn from our
Read question 6.
question number 6. What was the biggest problem pointed out that you have a part in fixing?
Racism. It was the biggest problem because many people refuse to accept it.
Yeah, you're gonna push it all together. You can do that. I mean, you can start.
Anything else? Okay. Should I stop it?
Number 5. So it asks, how does racism in the form of slavery serve to benefit the slaveholder socially and economically? So owning a slave can benefit a slaveholder socially by showing that they have power, wealth, and that they are of higher class to have a slave. And economically, they would acquire money from the labor of the slaves. Whether it was selling cotton or sugar or anything, the slave owner would obtain the profit from the slave's labor. And question number 6. Who else is gonna
Who
go?
wants to answer question number 6?
Did anyone do it?
I did it.
You want me to do it? Okay,
You do it.
Oh yeah, make it.
Okay, May hold it. Hold it. You can.
What do you think is the legacy of American slavery? Child labor still exists today. So in India, many children work 10-12 hours a day and are only paid a penny for
When you're
every
done, you
hour.
should be finishing
There
up.
is
I am
also
going to
there is
give
also
you
the
my
sex
account
trade.
information that
People
I
who
want you to
decide to
upload your
immigrate
video
to
to,
another
okay?
country sometimes pay someone to help them be a nanny or whatever. Instead, those people will take advantage of them and make them sex slaves. Yeah.
Europeans and Aboriginals. I don't know if that was right. Do you think that was right?
Just go for it.
Well, it's still
So you're saying that
colonial.
Europeans
it's-
affected it?
Like, because in what ways was 19th century Canada affected by colonialism? Like, the colonialism could have been like the Europeans coming into Canada.
That's true.
So
Yeah,
that's what I
colonialism.
wrote. So for that question, I said it developed the population of Canada and increased the rate of diversity. The inhabitants of Canada were originally the Aboriginals, but due to colonialism, the Europeans settled in and claimed the land. Sure. So that's my answer.
If colonialism had not happened, residential schools would not have been made.
Wouldn't have
So-
existed.
Would not have existed. Yeah. And yeah, so Canada has the darkest secrets, well not the darkest secrets, but it does have the past of residential schools that, well, obviously Canada's not very proud of that, so that was due to colonialism.
And question number 8.
Alright. 8. So question number 8 is, can you think of some example of how colonialism still affects us today? So, the treatment of indigenous populations, the privileging of some groups over others, the uneven distribution of wealth, all this is due to colonialism. So, the people who were colonialized have the worst jobs in the world, and they also have less resources and human rights.
Guys, what our group just talked about. because that would be really important. So, from the discussion questions, we know that 19th century racism was like very harsh, and as what I heard Liam said earlier, nowadays it's more on like the stereotypes.
I said that.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was all me.
but back then it was like slavery, and it was like really harsh, and they were the African Americans were really inferior to the white people, and they weren't even like treated as humans. And from lies my teacher told me, what surprised me the most was like how racism is overlooked and isn't seen as a big deal. And although the text focuses on U.S. textbooks, this information is relevant because racism is like all over the world, and slavery happened not only in U.S. but also in Canada back then. And knowing about the past helps us make better choices for the future, because like we learn from our mistakes and everything, and that's basically a brief summary. I could have done better, but that's all I can do right now. Anyone else?
I'm with her on that idea.
Yeah? Why do you say that?
Everything she has said, it makes sense because slavery, the only time slavery was actually, I don't know the word, alive, I guess, was back then in the 1900s. Or no, 19th century. And thinking about it now makes us think that we did a horrible job of just
Make it slower.
we were just no. We can easily fix what we did back then.
Alright.
And should we also briefly summarize the post-film questions?
Sure.
Should we?
In
Okay,
15.
so I already said the answer for number 5, and like for number 6, Jeremy did it. And from what I think, the legacy of American slavery is, it's the continuous fight for racial equality today, and like freedom and just basic human rights for some people, because slavery still exists and racism still exists. And I already said question number 7, and Alondra already did question number 8.
Great. A round of applause for. Okay, yeah, okay, done.